Hi there. I wanted to talk to you about another book that I discovered, and even though it's positioned as a textbook, I would definitely suggest that, especially as a South African business leader, you take a look at this book. So, the book is called Principles of Marketing. It's the second edition, the latest edition, and you can see here that it's by Philip Kotler. Now, Philip Kotler, if you do not know, is probably one of the most well-known, prolific authors in the field of marketing. He is actually considered by many sources as the father of modern marketing. He was very instrumental in forwarding, or he has been very instrumental in forwarding the concept of the 4Ps that was originally conceived by McCarthy in 1960. So this book is really the best of all worlds if you're a South African business leader. It brings together that wonderful technical acumen from the father of modern marketing himself, together with a plethora of local examples, local brands, and local case studies. And I think that as a South African who works in this context, I've definitely felt that many of the texts that I consult are lacking in local examples and local applications of methods. This book completely resolves this for me, and it takes away this concern that a lot of what we seem to learn and digest from international authors doesn't really have a ton of applicability right here in South Africa. So there's just a couple of things I want to call out in the book itself that I found very impressive. The first thing is that it takes into account the diversity that is present in our local market. It looks at diversity from many different aspects. There's language diversity, there's cultural diversity, there's political diversity, there is a geographic diversity. So there's many other aspects of diversity that are covered by this text, which again, something that we don't always get to experience when we are using international books. And the other thing that I really enjoyed about this particular text is that it even takes into account the South African legislative framework. Obviously, as a marketer, as someone who's trying to grow businesses in South Africa, there's lots of legislation that applies locally that often isn't covered when you're using a book that comes from abroad. This book is very aware and presents a strong case for how to get around some of the issues that a lot of the local business leaders have to face, some of the challenges that they face. This book provides really good ways of how to overcome some of these challenges and how to get around some of the issues. This book has been put together by a number of very esteemed academics. You can see that a ton of work has gone into it. It's just an enormous text. There's just so much data, cases, pictures, frameworks. It's just a really beautiful text that I feel will be so well used in the hands of any leader who's making business decisions, business expansion, and growth decisions in the local context. Now, what I find is that typically a lot of the leaders that are looking for books, they find their way to the typical book retailers of the country, and they pick up something off the shelf, and it's usually stuff that is built or written with the intention of being read quickly. There's not a ton of research that's gone into that book, if in the most part. And that's the kind of books that we tend to digest in the typical retail setting in South Africa. This is not a book that you will get in exclusive books. This is very much an academic book, so you're going to have to order it. You'll probably order it from Takealot or whatever. And it's not something that you're just going to run into while browsing. Usually students, academics, are the ones who are pretty much forced to get this kind of book. Yet this book contains just such a wealth of valuable information that most business leaders need at this point. Specifically in terms of the real success stories that live in the South African context. I mean, if we had to just go by what the newspapers say, it's very doom and gloom. It's very boring. It's very, it doesn't really excite a sense of investment and hope for the future in the South African business leader. Yet if you look at this book, and I mean, you can just see here, there's some pictures here of brands that are relevant locally, and the book just abounds with these examples and case studies. Just local brands, Pick n Pay, Jungle Oats, Oma's Rusks, and it goes on and on and on. There's the wonderful success story of Bio Oil. which is a real South African success story. And it goes on and on and on. You know, it looks at local KFC, it looks at macro, etc. So just a ton of local relevant information. And the reason why I comment on this is that if nothing else, this text inspires so much hope and confidence in me, because it's not speaking about these success stories from the vantage point of hype and trying to make something out of nothing. It is speaking about these case studies in a very technically accurate way, because it was written from an academic standpoint. So they are really good at taking a brand or a context or a business and just dissecting it very analytically using technically correct methods, and they present a very solid case as to what worked in that situation and what didn't. So if you're genuinely just looking for some hope in terms of the South African business landscape, and you're looking for whether this is an investable destination or not, and if you're looking for examples to make you feel good about your own business, this is a really imperative text. So I recommend that you get online as soon as possible and get a copy of this book. I want to stress that I am in no way connected to the authors of this book. I don't get a cut from the sale of these books. I'm genuinely encouraging you as a South African business leader to get this book purely because I feel it's going to do wonders for your ability to craft a marketing strategy of your own and to just feel hopeful about the local context if it does nothing else. I hope you enjoy that.